Hola amores, welcome back to my channel. This is the third video for today. Again, I'm cranking these videos out. It's just a lot easier for me to do them on a Saturday, and I still have a lot of video requests I need to get to, which thank you. Now, the topic that I had requested that I speak on today is my cultural or racial standards when it comes to dating as a Dominican American, and also what kind of people I attract, based on my ethnic background, and also my standards or expectations when it comes to complexion, things like that. So I figured the best way to do this video would be to do it as kind of giving you all a little historical background with me. Now, truth be told, I have not had a whole lot of boyfriends. I did spend 8 years of my adult life with one person, and even before that, I wasn't one to really jump into relationships. But, I've had crushes here and there. So I'll just kind of give you all a little rundown. Okay, I was trying to fix the lighting because I feel like I was looking real pale. Sorry, guys. Maybe that's better. Anywho, okay. So I first started having crushes on boys in elementary school, and looking back, I feel like I started having crushes real young. Of course, I would never act on it, but I specifically remember my first crush ever was in second grade. Now, in elementary school, all I liked was white boys. White boys, the blonde hair, light eyes, all of that. I was a huge Backstreet Boys fan, and for those of you that remember their names, my favorite was Nick Carter, and he fit that look or whatever. And, granted, I did go to an elementary school where the majority was white kids, so I don't know, maybe if that's why I liked white boys, since, that's what was mainly around. But yeah, that was my thing. I remember every single crush I had. In every grade, it was like a different one. No, there was one boy I liked him for 2 grades, but yeah, they were all white boys. Okay. Then in 6th grade, I had my first crush on an Asian guy, a Korean guy, because there were also quite a few Koreans in this area. And after him, I would have a crush on another Korean guy, but nothing ever happened. I mean, I would never, of course, tell them. I always kept it a secret, kept it to myself. So yeah, so I went from white boys to those 2 Asian guys. Okay. Then, once I got to middle school and then into high school, that is when I kind of dropped the white boys and the Asian boys, because I think by that point, I also started to take into consideration what kind of guys would like me. And as I got older, one thing that I noticed is that the white guys were very much with the white girls, the Asian guys were very much with the Asian girls. So I was kind of like, why am I going to waste my time liking guys that I know aren't going to like me back? Now, I will say, once I started working later on as a waitress, that is the only time that I've ever had white men kind of approach me, but it was like older white men. I did have a few come up to me and be like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, whatever, but that was like it. Besides that, white men have never checked for me. I don't attract white men, and I do not attract Asian men. So it is what it is. But also, I would say my taste kind of changed anyway as I got older. And I do think it is natural for, as you grow and mature, to also be attracted to people that kind of look like you. Of course, that doesn't happen for every person, but I think we do have a natural tendency to do that. So at that point, my preferences, I guess you could say, narrowed down to Latino and Black men, okay? And from then on to this day, that's pretty much what it has remained. Now, when it comes to Latino men, my preference, of course, has always been first Dominican guys, and then, if not Dominican, another Caribbean Latino, okay? Now, this isn't, no offense to any non-Caribbean Latin men that may be listening to this, but I have always felt like Caribbean Latin men just have like a different, I don't know, swag to them that I don't really see in Central and South American men like that. And, that's not to say that there aren't attractive Central or South American men, because I have seen some. I mean, they're definitely out there. But, I don't know. I just feel like, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Cuban men, they just have a different, I don't know, they don't flow. That's just, I don't know. I just find it attractive. It's just, they got their own thing going on, which I like. But anyway, unfortunately for me, there were not many Caribbean and Latinos in my area. So that pretty much narrowed it down even more to, all right, a Salvadorian guy or a black guy, And when it comes to Salvadorian guys, I mean, they're not bad looking. I have seen a few good looking Salvadorian guys, but overall, they're not necessarily my cup of tea. And then if not Salvadorian, there's a lot of Bolivian guys, which, there's some good looking Bolivian guys. No offense to any Bolivians out there, but again, not really my cup of tea. So, it was like, all right. Now, let me say I did end up having a crush on two Salvadorian guys. When I was a little younger, actually, I did have a crush on one of my friends' brother who was Salvadorian. And then when I got a little older, I had a crush on this one Salvadorian guy, but it was because he reminded me a lot of Don Omar. Those of you that listened to reggaeton back in the day, y'all know who Don Omar is. This guy, he was actually very tall, which, you don't really come across a whole lot of really tall Salvadorians. He was really tall. He had the long hair, the braids, all of that. He was a little, a little chunky. He looked just like Don Omar to me. So, I was crushing on him a little bit, and he actually was crushing on me a little bit too, but, that never went anywhere. So, yeah. But the other thing is, a lot of these Central American guys, which again is what was mainly around here, I can't really say that they're really into darker skinned girls. So that narrowed down the Latin men dating pool even more. Now, funnily enough, there was another Salvadorian guy that I knew was kind of feeling me, but he was one of those that actually liked darker black women. So I guess it wasn't a surprise that he found me attractive. I mean, he knew I was Dominican, but, he liked the darker skin. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why he even found me attractive. But with them, it was just difficult because, truth be told, a lot of Salvadorians are low-key quite racist. And, they don't really like dark people or black people. And funny because, one of my best friends is Salvadorian, and I always remember her grandma would call me, oh, tu amiga la negrita, your friend, the black girl. I mean, she knows that I was Dominican too, but she would still refer to me as, la negrita, whatever. So, I kind of had to scratch Salvadorians out. So that leaves black guys. Now, no offense to any black men watching this video. Hope you guys don't take this any type of offensive way. But something that I learned pretty early in life is that there are many different types of black people. And that, of course, comes down to black men. Now, the different types of black people that I came to know about or learn was you have your hood black people and black men, which is, what people like to generalize and say all black people are that way, when of course they are not. But, you have them, these guys, I mean, they definitely have a certain way about them. They look a certain way, they dress a certain way, they style their hair a certain way. They're very just hood. I don't really mess with those type of dudes, but there was them. Then you have, your typical lower middle to middle upper class black people, your suburban black people. They can live in a single house, a townhouse, apartments even. But now these are the type of black people that I have mainly always associated with. Most of my black friends, I would say, fall into this category. And so when it comes to the black men that I have either been attracted to or even that I attracted, they have mostly fallen within this category. And I will also say the black people of this category tend to also be a little more multicultural when it comes to their friends and their the people that they date. Now, another group of Black people that I came to learn were the more like nerdy ones, the ones that, would be in, theater and drama, and also the ones that would have, a lot of white friends as well. I didn't see them with a lot of Black friends. So they were kind of like their own little different type of Black people. So, I didn't attract those type of Black men, and I wasn't into those type of Black men either. And then you had your more preppy, I guess you could say, Black guys that also had a lot of white friends, but they also had a lot of friends of other cultures. So I don't know, they were different. Like you knew who they were, but I don't know, I wasn't really into those type of Black guys either, and they weren't into me. So yeah, so when it comes to Black men, there are a lot that I would find attractive. And even to this day, there's a lot that I find attractive and that find me attractive. So because, I didn't have my preference when it comes to Latin men around, it was like, all right, if I have to choose between a white guy and a Black guy, I'm going to go to a Black guy because I just feel like I could relate more to a Black person than a white person, like a white American person. And so, and again, going with attracting or being attracted to people that you look like, it was kind of easy for me to also like some Black guys because, dark skin, similar experiences. I don't know, it was just a little easier. Now, as I got older, so my first boyfriend was actually an African American guy. Now, my boyfriend after him, no, the first two were, now after him, I was able to come in contact with a Dominican guy. But of course, he lived in Maryland, not in Virginia. Y'all know I'm in VA. But it seems like the bulk of Dominicans are in DC and Maryland. So, it's harder for me to get like in contact with them because, I live like an hour away from DC. But I met this guy through a mutual friend. And so we were still in high school. I don't think I was driving yet. I think he was like a year or two older, but his aunt would like drive him to come see me, but that didn't work out. Whatever. So, I always had like that desire to be with a, Dominican guy, but it was just so difficult because I didn't really come across many in this area. So when I was a senior in high school, I tried the whole long distance thing, dating a guy in DR, and I like fell in love with this one guy over there, and we got together or whatever. But yeah, that lasted like a year and a half or something. But I eventually had to cut that off because the long distance thing is just too hard, and a lot of my family members were like, why are you doing this? Which is funny because now a lot of my family members are like, find a man in DR. But when I was young, they were like, no, what are you doing? Even my like people in DR that knew me were like, why are you talking to this dude? You're an American girl and you're gonna come over here, go with this, low class guy pretty much. But of course, me, I didn't really look at that. Like I didn't care that he was poor or whatever. I don't know, I liked him. I liked his personality and stuff like that. I thought that he was cute, but whatever, it didn't work out. So I guess you could say that from high school on, it's pretty much gone back and forth between, Black guys and Hispanic guys, or Dominican, I would say, because the only Hispanic guys that I've actually dated were Dominican. Now, my kid's father, he was half Dominican, half Panamanian, but he was a darker skinned Latino. And that's another thing I will say. The Latinos or the Dominicans that I have dated have been mainly like darker skinned. But when I've been to DR, I've attracted light and dark skinned Dominicans. And over there, it's easier because over there, there's dark skinned Dominicans everywhere. So, I'm just one of like 1,000, so for them, I feel like it's easier for them to be attracted to a darker skinned woman because they see dark skinned women all the time. But here, even with some of these men that have preferences for Latinas, I may not necessarily be their first pick, because when people see me, what they see first is my skin color. They see a black woman. Now, whatever they may think, like different types of black, you know, like they may not necessarily think African American right off the bat, but they'll think something else. But so it also, I feel like when it comes to the type of men that I attract, it's mainly men that are attracted to, you know, black or darker skinned women. So I would say that that makes me attract either other black men or Latino men that like the darker skinned women, if that makes sense. So with all that being said, you know, this is not to say that I would never date a white man or an Asian man. I mean, I probably wouldn't. But the other side to that, and why I kind of just ruled them out, is because I don't attract them. They don't really come to me and approach me, you know, to date or anything like that. So that's why, you know, I don't even really consider white or Asian men when it comes to dating. And that's why it's primarily always been black men and Latino men, but specific type of Latino men still. You know, because again, I'm not attracting every type of Latino. I'm not attracting most Salvadorians or Mexicans or, you know, other types of South Americans. I would more easily attract a Caribbean Latino before I would a Central or South American Latino, you know. And then within the Caribbean Latinos, you know, you do have those that prefer their light-skinned, white-passing Latinas. That's fine. That's their right. So, you know, even with them, it's going to be the ones that like the chocolate, that like the, you know, the darker skin. So, and, you know, since that's what I attract, I guess you could say that's also why I've always been more attracted to them when it comes to those Latino men, and also when it comes to black men. So guys, what are your dating preferences when it comes to culture, race, skin complexion? Let us know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.